Hello everyone, welcome to Railway Cottage Studio. I'm Karen and I'm in my little studio today putting into place my little rabbit that I have thread painted yesterday. It's the first sort of go I've had at thread painting. I struggled a little bit at the start, but then I actually came to really like him at the end. So this is Randall. Randall needs to find a home on my Gathered Things quilt. So just a little short play today. I'm not feeling the best, had a pretty rough day at work. So I thought I'd just come down and fill my bucket a little bit before having a very early night. So I'm going to pull him out of here. First time I really used a hoop as well. Fiona, you'd be proud of me. So that was all a bit of a learning curve, which was good. I really enjoyed it once I got going. Once I stopped sort of overthinking colours and just stitched in the direction and used my intuition, it was fine. So here's Randall. You can see where I ran out of interest here. So Randall's not going to have any arms or feet. He's going to be put in as he is. So I'm just going to trim him. I'm going to trim him. So I am going to cut him rather than tear him, and I will just loosen up some of the stitches around him by hand. At the moment I'm just going to cut him square-ish, and then I'll have a think about where he needs to go, and that will dictate how else, if I need to cut him in a different way. Right, keep those bits for another time, and here he is. He's rather cute. Someone commented on Instagram that he looks frightened. Pensive. I'm going to go with pensive. He's looking pensive. He has no paws, so that probably is not helping him a great deal. So I'm just going to step back. I've got my camera, my phone, sorry, right in the way there. I'm going to step back and take my threads off and just have a look. So if you're wondering what I did for the EPP, I did nothing. It's true, I did nothing, because I did make some little English paper pieced apple core shapes, and it was a disaster. So I'm going to come back to that one because I've moved on with my life briefly, and I've moved on to thread painting. I've got so many hexies on here, and I have clamshells. They're up under here. I've got clamshells in a couple of places. So I didn't necessarily want to do the same. I wanted to learn a new skill, but unfortunately I didn't like the new skill very much. So I'm going to have another think about it. I might even come back with some diamonds or something else. But first of all, Randall the Rogue. If I'm looking at, again, I always look at the whole piece because he's kind of one block. He's a lovely light colour though. He's not very dark, and he's got lots of texture. So it's not like my ducks, when my ducks are a black, very strong brown blob. It's not like that. He's much softer, much easier to pop into my background. I do have a few pins on here, as you see, but that's just holding this bit up because I'm not sure where I want to stitch it yet, and it kept falling forward and annoying me. So here is Randall. So there's a few animals on here. I have some ducks and some swans and some beautiful little fairy little birds here. So I'm thinking at the moment I kind of don't have any animals down in this bottom corner. I've tried to zoom you out a little bit so you can see as much of the quilt as possible. How big is this quilt? Let's have a look. It's much smaller than my normal whole size quilts, but it's one big panel that I'm working on. So let's just have a look. So the slow stitch quilts I've made in the past I've done with 26-inch-ish blocks, whereas this whole thing is 46 inches. 46 inches wide. I don't know what it is long. I think it's a little bit longer. Let's measure. I don't think I measured. I think I just kind of 46 by, yeah, no, it is 46 by 46-ish. Not exactly. So that's how big it is, if you're wondering. Sometimes it's hard to get any sort of scale when you're looking at something online. So here is Randall. Randall needs a home. So I'm thinking that Randall needs to be somewhere that needs a bit of texture. Actually, I quite like him just there in the middle. Because I have, let me just show you, because I have this rose here, you can see this is just a partially completed tapestry, and literally that's how I got it, and I left it like that. I love it like that. It's just got a couple of stitches where, Mavis or whoever was doing it either lost the will to live, or moved on to something else. But I love it just like that, just, you know, left mid-stitch. So I've got this, which is similar in its colours and, you know, variations and stuff with this little guy. So I can kind of use that as my offset, I think. So I wondered if I stuck him in here, just like, if I tucked his bum in, because obviously we're not going to see the bits that aren't thread painted, where I stopped thread painting. And I stopped because I basically ran out of brown wool, because I don't have a great supply, I think. Do you think he looks good there, right in the middle? I'm just going to open the whole thing up and try and see if that's where he needs to be. I mean, he's pretty special. Actually, you know what? I really like that, and that is easy because it's the first place I tried. So I think I can do two things. I can stitch around him, you know, cut in a little bit and just stitch around him. That's just my dog above. Stitch around him. I could needle turn applique, which I don't think would work because it's too neat. I could trim him in a little bit and then do a whip stitch all the way around. Or I could actually just sew him on so you only see Randall. If you see what I mean. So you don't see the rest of him. Don't see the fabric that he's on. You just see Randall. I could just cut him close and just sew him in there, which I actually quite like. What do you think? Or does he need a bit of his background? I like his ears coming here because I don't wish to lose any of his ears. And then this little bit, that's right, I'll put something down here. I'm just looking through my phone to see how he looks. Or would he look good just with a big brown whip stitch all the way around him? And see, look at the back. Look at that lot. Those of you who are really good at this, have a good laugh because it looks like a crocheted jumper. There is literally so much crossing over. I'm sure there are lots of tips and tricks that I need to learn. First thing I'm going to do is going to cut him a bit more closely with the world's biggest scissors. So I'm just going to do a little bit of trimming. Oh, hang on, my doors. Oh, do you know what? I haven't done his whiskers again. I need to put some black wool on for his whiskers. Well, I've got DMC thread, I don't have black wool. So I do need to, when I'm out and about now, keep more of an eye out for some wools. I don't think I will ever be it would be my primary way of doing my sewing. Let me just put something in front of my door. But it's a really nice, you know, it's a nice skill to have as a little bit. Let me just see if I tuck him under here. So we have his ear there. But obviously I want his whiskers to go over the top. Sorry, I'm just having issues with my door. There we go, that's better. It's a bit of a wind today. Again, I'm just going to have a look through my phone and decide what to do with him. What do you think? Should he? Do you know what? The ducks are just ducks with nothing around them. The swans are just swans with no fabric around them. So I'm going to make a call and I'm going to just sew him on. And then once he's on, I'm going to sew his whiskers through everything. And I'm not going to think about it anymore. I don't think. I just don't want to cut. Let's just give it a go. Do I need to tuck that under? I won't cut it too close because I think I'll tuck it under. So I'm going to just cut those whiskers. Don't panic though, because I'm going to sew the whiskers back on top. Go around the top. And in order to go down there, I'm going to go a little bit further. And let's see if we can make this little guy work. And that will be a good achievement for our Thursday night. Okay, I should have cut that over again, really, shouldn't I? All right, so let's lay him out where I want him to be. So I'm going to pin his middle where I want him because I don't want to lose. It's so fat, honestly. I don't want to lose that. Having said that, I could just go on top. Yeah. I want that ear there. So how about I just pin you right through your head like that. Okay. Trying not to have too many big lumps because this is very thick. At least that'll keep him in one place. So I think I will pin where I'm not going to be working for a minute. Let's turn that down. And then work where the pins aren't, if that makes sense, and remove them as I go. Okay, that's a start. So I'm going to roll. Do my little roll, and I do have a few pins in odd places at the moment just to keep things in place during transitions and rollings and things. And there's so many pieces on this that aren't fully stitched because, you know, we are doing a bit at a time, and I don't want to completely stitch everything down in case I want to go in later, in case I need to get under it or near it, or so everything's stitched down. It's just not stitched right to the edge. And I've got this pin here to remind me to fix my duck. My duck's gone a bit floppy. Okay. So again, I'm just going to roll in to where I'm working. Yeah. Grab my little blue mat. Don't know how I ever survived without that, Corinne. Thank you. There he is, ready to go. It's like when you see people operating and they create an operating window. I'll grab out all my brown threads. So ideally you won't see too much of what I'm doing stitch-wise, and I just want to make sure I haven't puckered him because he's so bumpy in the middle. But I think I'm going to have to just pin him around the outside and work from there and remove those because it's so lumpy bumpy. Because I am not very good at whatever that was. What's under there? Oh yeah, that's a bit of that napkin. So I'm going to start here. So I think I'm going to start with just a fine, something with a bit of a sheen. I'm going to start with just this, and it's just a crochet thread that I picked up in an op shop. You know, these colours are very easy to find. Quite a thin milliner's needle. And off we go. This needle hole is too big for this thread, but I need it to be the needle to be strong enough to get through all of the layers. So it's a bit of a payoff. I'm sure my thread will be coming out 100 times and driving me nuts. So I'm going to try and do pretty much that around him. So I'm going to do almost like a little hem blind something or other, whatever the correct term is. Yeah, I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to talk about it. I want him to go and come up through the bottom, but not through any of my rabbit just yet. And I'll zoom you in. There he is. Randall looks very concerned. So I'm going to fold that under like that, and then I'm going to catch it, pull it a little bit further under, and I'm going to catch it and go up through like about that, making it up as we go along. There we go. I think that will work, and it's going to be slow, but that's okay because we're doing slow stitching. And the first bit's going to be really painful because it's going to keep moving, but luckily my work doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be fun. Again, I'm going to come up. think once I get going, it'll be a bit like needle turn applique. Once you get going, you've got a little bit done, it kind of folds back on itself a lot more easily. Just have to make sure that I am tucked and that I'm not creating any puckers like this. Look here, I need pins over here. Don't want you to move. I don't want you to move. There, that's better. It's not going to be perfect, but that's all right. Just pulling that corner of the little quilt piece in as well, just using the opportunity to keep it, use it to sew it in place, and then not do that, don't pleat it. I want to go right in, so I go in the fabric and up through the wall. I think that will be the most successful. Stay there. Okay. Randall will look like he's just popped up out of a little rabbit hole. So I'm just coming back out, following the shape of Randall's shoulder. There he is. So yes, I don't know how it is that I haven't done a lot of thread painting, but I just haven't. I mean, there's been a lot of people do, you know, obviously Fleur Woods is the name in the field. She does magnificent stuff. And I see lots of people doing her courses, and then, you know, you see it reflected in their work. I mean, in particular, obviously Kate in the Nest, her work is very heavily thread painted. But I just didn't happen. Hasn't happened for me. So when other people do it, I like it. When I do it, I don't like it. It's one of those things. But I don't mind Randall, so maybe I'll work on some alternative images that I might like because they're brown. I think maybe that's it. I think maybe because I've tried to do it, you know, like you see it done, and you see it done with florals and beautiful bright colours, and I just can't. I struggle with that, and maybe that's why. Maybe that's why I struggled to like it. I'm trying to take a shortcut there, and it's just not going to work, so I need to just not do that. So happy Thursday. We're nearly at the weekend. Nearly there. Just trying to stay ahead of not being well. It's coming to that time of year where everyone is tired and run down. And as much as we love our little kids, they come along well. They're not little. I teach, you know, high school kids. They just come when they're sick, and you know, makes it very hard, very, very hard for people not to get sick themselves. I just want to pull that thread. It's annoying me that it's just. Again, you know what? I'm just going to ignore it. Move on. Yes, lots of children turning up unwell, and then you know, invariably everyone's tired and run down, so it goes through the school like wildfire, and then more people are away, and so you get more tired because you have to dissolve classes and take on more kids, and it's just that time of year. So we are all just trying to look after our well-being and protect our very vulnerable kids who, you know, if they do get sick, it's a massive deal. And limp on through to the next holidays. And this time I am so looking forward to a Christmas holidays with 2 working hands. I can't believe that that's this year already, you know. This time last year, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks out from holidays that my thumb was broken and my ligaments were torn in my thumb. And, you know, I still have a lot of pain from that. When I've been stitching, anything where I have to pull up, and you can see, I mean, you're supposed to be able to lift both your thumbs up aligned. So for me, that's as far as I can get it. Can you see? Yeah. So I need to, still doing physio to get that thumb back to where it was. And you know, bones are one thing, but just ligaments take forever. And I think once you're a certain age, they kind of just give up the ghost and go, nah, this is what you got now. Again, I'm just going to put another pin here to try and keep that as. And the beauty about slow stitching is, look, if I do something and I end up with a pucker or something that I don't like, I'll just stick something over it, you know, don't worry about it too much. And sometimes some of my favourite pieces are ones I've had to, you know, come up with a way to fix something or cover a mistake, or, you know, rather than unpick a mistake, it's been, okay, how can I, what other element can I add to fix, to add to it and make it look intentional, or hide it? Or do we just leave it and celebrate it? You know? So Randall's taking his surgery quite well so far. I do want that pin back in there though. Again, I'm just going to drop him. So Thursday night means rugby for me. Well, not for me, my husband coaches rugby on a Thursday night. So it is one of those lovely nights where, for the teenagers, well, my young adult who's 20, he does his own thing for dinner, and my teenage son and his girlfriend who live with us, it's choose your own adventure for dinner. So I've had 2 pieces of toast, which is more than enough for my very upset tummy today. And that's it. Don't have to make dinner. So it's, what's it now, 6:15. You know, I've got a couple of, probably an hour, I think, before I can go and have a shower and just get a really early night. So that's lovely. That'll fill my little bucket and get me through to the weekend. And Friday's always a fun day. We make it fun. We have to make sure our kids want to come back on Monday, so we always have fun Friday. So I haven't cut a lot off his bottom here. I might cut a little bit more before I turn the corner and start trying to tuck that bit up underneath him. I think this is good. I quite like him this way. And I'm glad he's not all to one colour. He doesn't stand out massively. He's just a quiet little, unassuming little dude popping out to see what's going on. I had to get up this morning about 3 o'clock. I just struggled, didn't sleep very well last night, but I had to get up and find my phone and literally go in there and record about 4 different ideas I've got for things I want to make, because there's so many things I want to make at the moment. When we were away in Bowral, I got hold of this, talking bunnies. Go under the lip. I'll show you my bunny. This little guy. And again, always a sucker for bunnies. I don't know why. Oh, this little guy, and I tea-dyed him, and then I'd put some ink on him. Look how gorgeous he is. So he was handmade. I picked him up in a little op shop in Boondoon. Anyway, I'll look up the name of it. It's down in the Southern Highlands, and he's my next project. He's going to have a home that's made for him, but it's going to be a slow-stitched home. So that's the thing that's keeping me awake at night. So I'm having rabbit dreams, apparently. So I think I'm going to create his own little, like a slow stitch book that rolls out and has different places for him to go in. It's something, I haven't got a clear picture in my head just yet. And I'm very much a big picture person. I don't start till I have a whole picture. I can't start in a corner and create. I have to, once I see it in my head, I'm good. I can just work, but I need to actually imagine the whole thing first. So it's percolating in my semi sleeping state, apparently, is when I'm doing the most of that instead of sleeping and feeling better. I find that if I've got lots of stuff on my mind, I have to wake up and just write it down somewhere or record it, and then I can go back to sleep. So because this little guy is kind of pulling at my threads, I'm actually going to do a sneaky little knot on the other side. So it'll basically tie off the tension on what I've already done, just so I don't have to keep tightening all these other stitches every time. So I'm just going to do 2 little back stitches and then carry on. So that now that side can't get loose again. And sorry, I'm off the camera here. I'm just going to pull you a little bit towards me because you're way out in the middle of the table for some reason. That's better. I was having to lean. All right, I'm underneath. Back here. And I haven't yet started on anything for Christmas. Jeez Louise, I have a list, but I haven't started on anything. I'm going to do an angel, I've decided, scruffy angels, scruffy slow stitch angels, just as gifts for my daughter in her first Christmas with her little bub and her partner. They need an angel. So again, I'm just percolating what he might look like. I've got a few ideas, but they're all still a bit too country for me. I haven't quite found my perfect idea yet. Put that one a bit higher up because I managed to pucker that a little bit. Can you see there? That's all right. Fix it this time. There we go. And I don't mind if there's a few visible stitches. Getting a bit closer than that though. Someone's dog's not happy. We live in a cul-de-sac, so nobody walks past our house ever. And I think there might be probably 9 houses on either side of the street, and we're right at the end. And if anyone inadvertently turns down our street to walk, long before they get near my house, I am alerted because every single yard has a dog, and we never have anyone walk past. So the whole street goes absolutely ballistic. So we never have to worry about someone sneaking up on us, because it's impossible, as my children trying to sneak home over the years have found. You can't do it in our street. Just going to go up under here, and I kind of tucked that up with the first stitch. There it is. Now he doesn't have paws, and that's okay. I'm going to put something down the bottom here so he doesn't just look like he's out in the open with no paws. But yeah, my limit was done. I'd run out of wool, and it had taken me, I think my 3.5-hour limit was up, and it was time to move on. It's good. I learnt some things. It's good. Tuck under there. So I think this was a number 15. Was this prompt 15, ladies? In which case we're down to the last 5. And I know that once that final prompt has been given, I have a lot of work to do because I have a lot of stitching down yet to do. And I have all of my embroidered words script to put all over it, which I'm going to do very, very last. So I can go right over the top of everything. And then a lot of background stitching. So those of you who've done your canvas stitching as you go, you'll be well and truly away once the final prompt is, whereas for me it'll just be the beginning of quite a big bit of work. Up and under. Just starting to get dark, and we finally had a day today. It was 27 and hardly any humidity. It was absolutely beautiful after all of the horrible humid days that we've had. where everything is just damp. Like even when I came down to when I would come down to my studio, anything that's paper feels damp. The air is so damp sometimes. Okay, what's happened here? I think I can safely take that pin out. He's not going anywhere. So I'm just making sure. See, I don't want that on top because then I will lose too much of him. So yeah, that's going to go under. That's going to be fine, I think. What do you think? Because it'll just be the outline of him on there. Oops. On top, I do that all the time. Let's go under there. Again, just trying to make sure that there are no little puckers in this beautiful blue fabric. And I'm just going to kind of go around his corner a little bit because otherwise I'm going to have too much to tuck. You know, like when you're trying to tuck your shirt in and there's not enough room. Alright, Randall. I'm going to turn this corner, hopefully, way over. Way over. Here is where I want to be, right there. Squeaky shoes, sorry. We have to wear closed-in shoes because we push wheelchairs all the time, and it is the first thing that comes off when I get home on my sneakers. See all these other teachers in mainstream going to work with beautiful little sandals and trainers. We have quite a few children with electric wheelchairs, and I think I've been at my job for in the same school now for 13 years. It's my 13th year, and we have had a couple of broken feet from electric wheelchairs, so we wear sneakers, and that's with sneakers actually. They're very heavy things. Alrighty, here we go up Randall's other side. Kind of like, needle turn applique, but not much easier. Sorry if you're seeing my head. Sometimes I have to do that to see where I am. There. Thing about the milliner's needles, they're strong, they've got a decent sized hole, but geez, they're sharp. Which is good, which is why you can pierce through all these layers, but get your hand out of the way. I'm going to spin everything in a minute because I'm working at an odd angle. Let's just spin you around this way a bit. There's my little blue mat under again. Head up. I'm just trying to, when I'm looking for where my needle to come through, I'm trying to line up with where I think the edge of the stitching the wool is, and just a little bit inside, so that then when I pull it up, I am doing it in two parts just to be a little bit more precise, because I want to fold him under. Yeah. And then using my needle to push it back in to make sure there's no puckers. Hold it still, and push straight down. Because again, everything's quite loosely stitched, so everything's got a big potential of moving. Up again. So again, you can see my stitches here are getting a bit loose because I haven't tied up, so I'm going to do the same thing that I did over there. I'm just going to pull them tight and do a bit of a tie off with this stitch when I go under. Into the back on this one, I'm going to do a little bit of a back stitch and give myself a bit of breathing room. So again, just tying off to keep the tension in my stitches because this is quite a slippery yarn, and obviously the wool stitches are big, so it's moving quite easily. And I don't want to have to keep pulling it so tight because invariably I will snap it, and then that will be a pain. All right, then I can go again. So I didn't pull it very tight, did I? I'm actually going to, you can see I didn't do a very good job of that, so I'm going to actually go here and pull that up. Let's see if I can just fix that a little bit. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's better. Hopefully that's a bit better. Okay. I feel like I should be doing those stitches every couple, but anyway, I'm not going to worry about it. It's only because I'm looking at it so closely. And obviously in the context of the big piece, it's all of those little stitches just disappear. A bit closer together, I think. I think 4 stitches and then a bit of a tie off might be the sweet spot. Any more than that, and I seem to not be getting enough tension. Okay. Again, oh look, finally I knew it would have to come out at some point. I did well not to lose it until then. The good thing about these needles is they're very, very easy, she says, as she struggles to, very easy to thread. Through here again. Just going to tuck that bit of trim in because it's very delicate. Yeah. Missed the under bit of that there. And this has saved me having to cut too close to the edge of this thread painted piece because God knows which direction my threads are going in and what would happen if I cut any of them. The whole thing could possibly unravel because again, rookie effort. So I'm going just next to that, but there must be something in the back there. I'm just going to go under. Use the needle to push the backing under. You can see there is a little bit of a curve. Just making sure everything's in the right place. So I'm just using my needle to kind of push it over. I mean, I probably could have just gone around the edge of him, but it's all learning. What do you think, Randall? Are you good? I don't know if I mentioned earlier, one of my son's friends was hit by a car at his prom party last weekend, and he was critical. He was airlifted to Brisbane with brain, just awful injury and whatever. Well, the good news, he's had all sorts of broken limbs, but they haven't been able to operate because of his brain injury. But the good news today is that he's off the critical list and he's awake and talking. So that is a massive relief for everybody involved. Young fellow who wasn't even drinking ended up being hit by a car. So it's certainly a prom party to remember for those poor teenagers who were with him trying to look after him till the ambulance arrived. There's the train. Must be 6 o'clock, is it? Alright, my temperature on my camera is getting hot, so I'm going to pause you there, leave you with Randall, and I will come back a bit later when he's done to show you.